Welcome to Reconciler. Just going to take an opportunity to show some METs how they can use Reconciler to better inform what is being delivered to the plant. Obviously, we need plant numbers. We want to make sure that we're reconciling as close to the final number as possible, and throughout the entire mine value chain, that is the goal, to try and get the numbers that you're getting out at the other end of the plant. So I've just brought us into the, just to sort of set the scene, I've got a example mine value chain here with a few different models, some mine production, mine delivered, so what was delivered to the crusher according to the dispatch, and then of course crusher received, so those crusher weightometer readings that we're getting through from the plant. Then we've got a plant feed and then a plant product number. Now, if your mine goes all the way through to shipping, we do continue all the way through as well. And we're also interested in reject as well. But we've got the opportunity to look at any kind of attribute. So I've just pulled up dry tons here. I could be looking at wet and dry tons, a few different grades, any of the grades that are in the model you can actually view. And I've just pressed apply, and now that has expanded the table. Anywhere that I select on the table will give me the reconciliation comparisons that have been set up, and they are completely configurable by users. And it will also give me the number difference between the two adjacent nodes on that mine value chain. So whilst this is an overall sort of view of your data for the actual mine and for any period that you select, and any location. So maybe you're interested in, you've got a couple of different pits and you want to know what's being moving on one particular pit, you can actually drill down. We often want to have more information around those numbers. So I'm just going to move us into the trends screen. So the trends is part of the data analysis modules. And we can see here the trends screen has been configured to show us the mine delivered numbers. So again, remember, mine delivered is the dispatch against the crusher received, so that crusher weightometer. Now, I've just chosen to look at those numbers in the chart, and I've also got the underlying table of data. Let's just add in the plant feed as well, and it's as simple as adding it in here, and what we'll see is another column come up. And so now we've got what the mine said it delivered, what the crusher weightometer said against what the plant feed was. Now we know that there's COS stockpiling often in between crusher weightometers and plant feeds, and in fact we do have those numbers there. So we do have feed, we have COS stockpiling, and so forth. So you can get any of the numbers that are in the in your data that we're importing into Reconciler. They can be visualized in here. So what I wanted to do now was sort of just take an opportunity to show you what else you can get out of this screen. So let's just turn off a couple of these and look at the mine delivered. And I'm just going to focus on tons. And I'm going to stack the columns by the material type. Now, why am I doing this? Because I'm interested in the material that is being delivered to the crusher, so the material types that are being delivered to the crusher. And so now I can see that I've got 4 different material types here. I've got a crusher material type, a high grade, a medium grade, and a W3. So obviously we don't want to see any W3, but in fact looks like we've had a load of waste go to the crusher at some stage there. So let's just move on to the material movement screen. So the material movement screen, we've got a couple of different visuals of what's happening across the mine value chain, and we're looking at the crusher to plant product visualization, that flow chart of material movement. We do have the mine to crusher. I have seen custom screens of this where we've got the mine all the way through to plant product in one go, but for my demo set I've got 2 different screens for the mine to crusher and the crusher to plant. So what are we actually looking at? I've loaded, and let's just open this, I've loaded the dispatch, so the mine delivered, against any weightometer readings on any of these particular points. Now you'll see some of them are opened up. I can close them and open them just to make them look a little easier to read. I can also choose any of those attributes that we're carrying in the models. So we can see we've got some recovery gold grades down here. We can add those in, and it will just simply add to this add to each of these data sets. When I select a data set, what happens is, again, I get that underlying data. So I can see all of my individual COS stockpiling. So that's usually your crusher weightometer. Your source being the crusher. If you've got more than one crusher, if you've got more than one plant, yes, we can absolutely handle that. It would just have a different source ID there for each particular crusher. There's a few columns there that I'm not interested in. And on all of the charts, you can start to hide those. So, let's just get rid of all these equipments, and we can start to see a table that's going to have more meaning to us. So that's everywhere. So we've got the ability now to be looking at any of those data sets pretty easily. And if we've got sources and destinations, they're filled in. If Reconciler doesn't know what they are, it will show it as an unknown. Moving on to the stockpile analysis screen. Again, I just wanted to show that there's a number of different ways of looking at stockpiles. And what I wanted to do was show, I've got some a stockpile group here, and let's, for the sake of things, say that this Triton stockpiles group are my pre-crusher stockpiles. So I've loaded them all up, and I've said, okay, well, there's 7 stockpiles that belong in that particular group. Show me my total, so I can see I'm sitting at about 6.5 million tonnes of total stock pre-crusher, and then I can see what the component is. So these MG4, MG3 are my different stockpiles, okay? And then, of course, you've got just the inventory. So let's go in and choose one particular stockpile, and let's look at the HG3. And let's change the way that we're going to look at that stockpile. So now I'm interested in what's gone on and what's come off that particular stockpile. And I'm interested in the movements. So let's just plot that and see how we go. So what you'll see is that the chart now changes to a closing balance. So we can see that we've got a closing balance of the tonnes, and then the closing balance of the grade in the dotted line. And we've got some additions and some removals around the 18th to the 23rd of December. If I go down into the actual chart and select just maybe the additions, I can start to see what the material is that's being sent to that stockpile. So it's what's going onto that HG3 stockpile and all of the attributes that are associated with it. So I can easily see the types of grade that is being delivered to that stockpile. And maybe it's for the last 12 hours, it's actually had quite a high grade delivered to it. That's a nice way to be able to see what's sitting on those stockpiles. I can actually have a look at what's being reclaimed, and we can see that we've had a reclaim grade of 1.57. And I do just want to finish with the crusher feed. So again, I'm interested about what's coming into the plant. That's what it's all about. Now, if I have the crusher feed screen, think of it as I'm sitting at the plant and what is the material that's coming to me, and I've got obviously direct feed straight out of the pit or the underground, and I've got a stockpile feed from any of those stockpiles. Now, I just happen to have grouped that by source material type and source stockpile, but I do not have to. Okay, I don't have to have any kind. I can actually get rid of it. But there's loads of different ways of looking at your material. So we can change it. So I've taken off the direct feed. I just want to know the value going into the crushers. And I also want to know the source material type. So I've got a couple of different main material types going into the crushers. And this is just an example of where you've got more than one crusher. So yes, it can handle more than one crusher. It doesn't have to be one. It can be all. You can be looking at your overall mine, the whole, as well as just individual crushers, and same with individual plants. So hopefully that's shown you a little bit on how you can use Reconciler to help understand what's being sent to the crushers, and then to move that material through the coarse ore stockpile to your plant, so that we can then better reconcile against that plant product number. Thanks for your time, guys.